Okay, Genesis chapter 5. So we've already covered quite a bit of information in the first 4 chapters of Genesis, and correlating that with Moses and Abraham as well. So Genesis chapter 5, we're now getting a little bit beyond just Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, those main stories, in understanding as the families start to blossom and grow, more humans around. Verse 1 of chapter 5, this is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. So a couple things are important to understand. The book of generations of Adam. So Adam kept a journal of the names of the people. They kept a genealogy, basically, as well as a journal of who was begat by who and how all that worked out, basically. Wouldn't it be nice to find those records? That'd be good. So if you want to get a little bit more about these generations, section 107 and section 84 of the Doctrine and Covenants give a little bit of insight into that, about some of those generations of Adam. 84, of course, is the revelation on priesthood, and so it gives the priesthood line of authority basically down. So some really interesting things that kind of tie that in with this. Now this chapter seems to show the line of authority, not genealogy. So this chapter is more closer to 84, section 84. The last chapter showed the lineage through Cain, or the people who didn't follow God. This chapter shows the righteous line. Note the names are similar. Satan wants to make a copy of what is good. So that's the note I have to start this chapter. If you remember, they talked about when we discussed in chapter 4, Cain had his sons, Irad, Mahuel, Mahajuel, Lamech, and others. Enoch was there. So there's a lot of parallels, a lot of similarities between the wicked line names and the righteous line names. Almost like there's a copycat of things going on. Basically, Satan wants to duplicate what God is doing in a way. One way to look at this. So in verse 2, male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. So this is just kind of backwards looking at the creation real quick, summarizing things, kind of pull it back up here as well. If you want Bible dictionary, the word genealogy is in there. So look that one up as well, some fun stuff. Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness after his image, and called his name Seth. So Seth looked a lot like Adam. Seth was kind of a younger version of Adam, kind of a thing. Sometimes that'll happen when you have a child and they look almost exactly like the parent at that age. It's uncanny sometimes. So finally we have Seth. And if you followed along with Moses and Abraham, as well as in Genesis, we realize Adam and Eve are now on their, in a way, third family. They had a bunch of kids. They went wicked. They had Cain and Abel. Cain went wicked. Abel died. So now they have Seth. Seth is finally the righteous line. He's finally moving forward. In the days after after he begot Seth, were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. So after Seth, there were even more sons and daughters that he had. All the days Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. That's a long time to be alive. Now, granted, they didn't necessarily have as much of a problem as we have today, so you probably could live that long. The human body is designed actually to live indefinitely. It really could sustain itself in perpetuity if given the right conditions. Now, eventually you get old, eventually things wear out. But of course, if you're breathing pure air, there's no pollutants in the air, all the water's fresh and clean and clear and purified. The animals, the grains, there's no modified anything or wicked animals. There's no destructions and wars and pestilences and stuff out yet. Everybody's pretty clean and healthy. We all could probably live a lot longer. So that's just kind of an interesting concept. And then Seth lived 105 years and begat Enos. He's in the Bible dictionary. Look up his name. So Seth is in the Bible dictionary as well. Seth lived after begat Enos 800 years. And the days of Seth were 912 years. Enos lived 90 years and begat Canaan. Canaan and Enos lived after he begat Canaan 800 years. The days of Enos were 905 years. Canaan lived 70 years and begat Mahalalel. Okay, and then Canaan lived, begat Mahalalel 800 years. Days of Canaan were 910 years, and he died. Mahalalel lived 65 years and begat Jared. Mahalalel lived 800 years after he begat Jared. The days of Mahalalel 890 years. Jared lived 162 years, and he begat Enoch. Now these are the names of the people, descendants of Seth. Okay, so if you remember, if you followed in the book of Moses, especially, we have a division around, Cain and Abel's time. There was a division in the people. Cain went down into the valley. The wicked went down into the valley. The righteous stayed up in the more mountainous areas near the cave of treasures, and where Adam and Eve were living, and they split. And so now there's two civilizations that are growing and expanding and doing more, basically. Verse 18, Jared lived 162 years, and he begat Enoch. Now, Jared means to go down. During his life, when the children of God went down into the valley to mix with the people of Cain and partake of the wickedness. So during the years of Jared is when we start to get this problem that we'll see going forward here, that the sons of God, they call them. Some people think they were the angels of out of heaven. Hugh talks about them being more of the priesthood. Basically, they are sent down to minister and keep an eye on part of the righteous community. Their job is to make sure that the wicked community's needs are met, that they're okay, and to minister to them. So you think of the ministering concept we have. So they are ministers to these people down here. And they eventually say, hey, we want to come down and actually join you in your wickedness and sin, and we'll teach you the things of God if you let us. We'll teach you the secrets of God if you let us have sin with you, basically. So there was a huge migration of people out of the righteous community into the wicked community, and this community really blossomed out, and there's a ton more happening. So the righteous community shrunk quite a bit at this point. That's the beginning of this whole process that leads to the flood. Okay, and in the days of Jared, that's what happened. Okay, now in Enoch is his son. Enoch is a very powerful one, where you want to get into Moses 7 and 8 with those chapters as well. He is really cool. In fact, there's a whole book Hugh has, Enoch the prophet. Absolutely recommend reading if you want to understand him better. There's a lot of good stuff there. So Enoch was born before Abel was killed. This is another interesting concept. If you look in section 84 of the Doctrine and Covenants, verse 16, it says that Abel gave, basically, Abel and Enoch, there's the line of authority of the priesthood. So Enoch was born before Abel was killed. Abel gave Enoch the Melchizedek priesthood. So they were still around at this time. And then, of course, Cain goes down, Abel gets killed. All this is happening. So there wasn't just Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel. There was a lot more people that were happening, as we learned from modern revelation, that was going on down here. In the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died. Now Satan had shown the people at Jared's time, including Jared, how to get to the valley where all the parting was going on. When they saw it, they wanted to enjoy the sin and not follow God. They had a bustling city and society with lots of entertainment. And if you remember, when we look at the names of the line of Cain, we learn about people who are blacksmiths, metallurgists, people who are making instruments, singing and dancing, creating a city which has structure involved in it, not a communal area, but like a city with roads and property rights and things start to emerge. So that's what was going on down in the valley. And then the righteous were ministers there to help them, and they decided, we just want to go join you and do that. So then, of course, Enoch, his son, was Methuselah, who's known as the person who's lived the longest as far as we know, basically. And Methuselah is in the Bible dictionary, so go look him up. Verse 22, Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years and begat sons and daughters. All the days of Enoch were 365 years. Verse 24 again, and Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Now what that means is God took Enoch back, and we learn we don't get a lot of details on that here, but we can tell if Enoch is walking with God, he is a very righteous person. Very righteous person. If I remember right, Enoch is the seventh from Adam, which number 7 has some significance in there. That in the book of Moses, we get a lot more about that time frame, about the city of Enoch and the missionary efforts. Enoch was really one of the first major missionaries called to do more of what we would consider a mission to the wicked people in the valley. So follow in book of Moses to get more details on that. This is about all we get in the Old Testament is this: Enoch walked with God, and then God took him back. So he didn't necessarily die, he was taken to heaven. So you think of like Elijah, those kind of people, going up kind of a thing. They believe Moses did that as well. Alma is another possible one as well. Methuselah lived 187 years and begat Lamech. Okay, now Bible Dictionary has the word Lamech in there. This is again not the Lamech that came through the lineage of Cain. Okay, Methuselah lived 782 years, begat sons and daughters. He lived 969 years. Very long time. Verse 20, and then Lamech lived 182 years and begat a son, and he called his name Noah, which Bible Dictionary, Noah is in the Bible Dictionary, saying, this same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which the Lord hath cursed. So Noah, they know Noah has a special mission, special opportunity for him to do. So realize that, okay, so we have Jared, then we have Enoch, then we have Methuselah, then we have Lamech, then we have Noah. Okay, so Noah is the great grandson of Enoch. Okay, so they're connected. That is important. Follow in Moses to understand how that dynamic works. There's a lot in the book of Moses about this. And so then Lamech lived after he begat Noah 592 years. All the days of Lamech were 770 years. Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And you can look up the names of his children in the Bible Dictionary as well. Some really good information. So now we're moving down the line. Chapter 5 is kind of more of a genealogy, or more of a line of authority that they're talking about here. Similar to what some things were mentioned in the book of chapter 4 of Genesis. But there's just this hundreds of years that they kind of just mention a couple people's names and glaze over a lot of what happens there. Book of Moses, we get a little bit more glimpse of what that was like and what was going on at the time. So follow there to get a bit more of the in-depth understanding from Genesis chapter 5. Thanks, guys. Please comment your thoughts in here. Share these videos. Like and subscribe. Like the videos. Subscribe to our channel as well. We really appreciate that. And then look forward to chapter 6.